Boruto episode 249 being the latest episode. I mean, this will be a review of the last, I'm thinking 4 to 5 episodes. Based on the title, you'll have a better idea of what range I'm talking about. But episode 249 released today, and I decided to catch up. Why I am behind is another story, maybe for another video or another conversation. But here I am. I basically binged the last few episodes. Honestly, for the start of the arc, I mean, I found it interesting, but it just was moving really, really slow for 20-minute bite-sized pieces. So, I guess that led to me taking a break, in as little words as possible. But I can honestly say, I think waiting for the episodes to pile up a bit kind of gave a sweet payoff, because I'm finding that I'm really enjoying this arc for what it is. Big picture, so far at least, in this leading up to this current moment, I'm enjoying the developmental side of it, in that we're seeing these characters in a situation they've never really been in before. And I mean, I don't say that loosely, I say that in the context of the emotional challenges, the moral or ethical challenges that they're facing, and the internal conflict, which I'm most enamored with, particularly with the last episode. With that said, I mean, they've suffered loss, and I mean, this is probably one of the more significant losses the Boruto anime has seen thus far. I mean, granted, you lost Kurama, right? I mean, that's big picture. I'm talking in terms of relative to these characters, the actual lead characters. The loss of Kagura, a character who the fan base is, at least for me, I've grown to love and have compassion for. You got to see him develop and change, and he grew for this guy. I know for me personally, I could have envisioned him maybe 10 years down the line just supporting Sarada and Boruto as they lead the Leaf, and helping them go into battles as necessary. He just seemed like that guy, and for them to have that loss, for the viewers to have that loss, it's just like, wow, things are kind of heating up. Like, you're starting to see the tonal shift in Boruto that kind of began, I'd say, around the deeper arc grow a little bit. Like, we're seeing it come from level 1 to like a level 2 maybe. And with that said, I mean, I think it's good. I mean, one, I really wish he didn't die. I would have rather, anything but that. But he did. And I can appreciate it, because I know it's gonna, as we're seeing now, it's gonna force Sarada and Boruto and the Leaf Shinobi, the younger kids, to grow and to see things differently. Like, once again, they're experiencing something that they're not used to, like casualties of war, which is something that was often talked about in the last few episodes, particularly the last one, which I think emotionally or ethically, really hit a lot of good stuff home. With that said, like I said, I think that's the biggest thing I've enjoyed about it. We're seeing these characters who have different ambitions, and we're seeing the results of these decisions that our beloved heroes are making, and how they're not maybe always so good, how they have their own ramifications, which Boruto is experiencing on one hand, and having to confront the Funado clan leader's son. So there, where you see Boruto looking at him like, what? I didn't kill you. What? I killed your dad? Like, it's finally starting to click for him. Like, whoa. I mean, I felt very strongly about this guy. I mean, he's the opposition, but you never once stopped to think that maybe there are some things about this guy that are slightly meaningful, slightly worthwhile. Maybe he's a father. Maybe he has compassion for, kids that are starving. Maybe he has a backstory, which is, it takes me to another thing, because I know for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of when, shows and movies, particularly anime, try to make me empathize for the enemy by letting me know their backstory. But as much as I don't like it, I appreciate it. because it shows once again that these people, they don't just wake up in the morning and say, hey, let me go and be evil, let me go on a rampage, let me go and kill some people. Like, no, they have moments that kind of shape them into being who they are, and thank God, and I guess its own sort of strength and support that the heroes don't make those decisions, or you yourself don't make these decisions, but it shows the frailty of humanity and how people can interpret experiences differently, and that can result in different outcomes. So with that said, like I said, I'm really starting to enjoy this arc simply for that fact alone, and that it's challenging the beliefs of these young Leaf Shinobi. And I too think I appreciate it a whole lot, because being someone who I'd argue loosely followed the Naruto series, like I watched a good portion of the original, like not the original but the first pre-Shippuden era. Then I watched a good deal of the Shippuden era stuff as well, with tidbits of the manga. But I know for me, one of my gripes with Naruto, and I mean I say this very lightly because Naruto is Naruto. Like it left its mark. It did so much good, but I think one of my gripes with the show was with Naruto. It felt like as the fandom would often make jokes about, his talk no jutsu, it just never felt completely justified, or it didn't feel like it earned its place in the narrative. And one could argue that maybe he decided to lead his battles in that way, or I guess treat his opponents that way because of the harsh upbringing that he had, and that probably fostered a sense of compassion towards others. I mean, that would be a fair point. And one could also argue that maybe his good-naturedness is what is the reason for him per se taking that approach. And I think both of those could be valid points. They both could also be contributors to maybe the bigger reason why he was like that. However, like I said, I personally, as a casual viewer, don't recall that ever feeling earned. Earned in the sense of watching a significant arc or a significant series that made you get why he decided to always try to talk his way out of every battle for 10 plus years. It just felt a little unrealistic to me. And granted, like I said, I was a loose viewer, so correct me if I'm wrong, I welcome it. Like, if there's a significant arc or episode where it really felt like, oh yeah, Naruto made this decision at this point here, and it was a big part of his character moving forward, please drop it below. I would be interested in seeing it, because that's also very possible. Like I said, I was a slightly casual Naruto viewer, so yeah, I'd love to see that. But like I said, for me, I'm personally enjoying seeing that culminate for Boruto and his character. Particularly in this arc, we're not only seeing him have this internal conflict about, the meaning of war and what it entails, like the real brunt of what it entails. We're also getting to see that not everyone has to agree that there may be something wrong with this approach. We're getting to see Kawaki's perspective, which is, hey, I mean, if you have an issue with this, maybe you shouldn't be in the battlefield. You have Buntan, who's willing and fully able to torture the captive that they have, and Sarada, like, at least let the man be able to defend himself. Like, what's going on? But once again, it goes to show that, war is not a very black and white thing. It's not about, good versus evil, and that's just what it is. Like, it shows that everybody has different perspectives on these things, and you could be on the same team as these people. You could be on the same team with other people who don't fully agree or don't fully maintain the same belief, although you're fighting for the same thing. That's a very true and possible reality of this sort of thing. So I'm really enjoying it. It's bringing in a new element of complexity for these characters, and honestly bringing in new stakes. Boruto's realizing, like, hey, it's not as simple as just killing a guy and letting it be that. Like, no, this guy has a story, and it's your decisions are affecting or going far beyond what you possibly could realize or think. So all in all, I'm really appreciating that, and I think it's a huge kudos to the writers, because I mean, okay, obviously one would argue this is a filler episode, but for a filler arc, it feels like it has some sense of purpose. Like, I'm confident that years down the line, regardless of what Boruto and the team decide, like, we can look back to this arc and say, oh yeah, that's kind of where it started. Like, this is where things changed, and I fully appreciate that as a viewer, and I think that's mad props to the writers for delivering that to the audience. I'll also say, though, I think another reason why the approach to this arc is working so well is because we not only get to see Boruto, this conflict of, I mean, I didn't like this guy, like this. We're not only getting to see Boruto have this internal conflict of what is right and what is wrong in war, and it's all fail in it. We actually got to see him live out or decide on an alternative, and that we got to see him act on vengeance, and we also got to see him experience the result of that. Experience that, hey, the avenging Kagura didn't really satiate the pain. It doesn't really change anything. If anything, it just breeds more problems. Like, we got to see that actively happen in his own hands. So once again, I think it just raises the stakes for one, but two, it allows you to really travel with him on this emotional, unethical journey to what will eventually become his resolve, his ninja way, or how his ninja way will evolve as a result of it. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I enjoy that approach much more than him just waking up in the morning and saying, hey, yeah, no, this is not the way to go, and I don't know, it just feels realistic. It feels like he went through the throes to get to that point, and it was good as a viewer to travel on the journey with him. With that said, I think we've come to the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to my mini rant on the last few episodes of Boruto. I invite you to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're interested in more content like this. I will for sure be posting more Boruto reviews along with other reviews for different shows, and I'd love to have you guys tag along with me for the journey. Thanks again, and until next time.